We're out here live at UD Arena. We have ESPN's Joe Lunardi with us. And Joe, I'm sure right now's the time you pretty much become in high demand. I'm pretty sure are you very popular right now, I'm assuming, right?
Well, I don't know if popular is the right word, but certainly requested. And depending upon your point of view, or I guess how I've evaluated your team, that determines the level of popularity. But just it's the same thing almost every year. There's this pretty big football game in early February. I forget what it's called.
The Puppy
Super
Bowl.
Puppy Bowl. Right? And after the Super Bowl, everybody wakes up and goes, in sports, what's next? And it's college basketball March Madness. And, you know, my request line starts to go like this.
Absolutely. You talked about our team, the Dayton Flyers. It's a team that has totally transformed over the years. I went from a team that just hoped to make the tournament year in and year out to now expecting. And I think a lot of people expect them to make it this year, but now I'm going to put you on the spot. Is this team a lock for March?
There are very few locks this year because, frankly, there are no great teams. I mean, there's a lot of good teams, and it'll make for great spectating. It doesn't necessarily make for easy forecasting. But I would say certainly in the Atlantic 10, Dayton and VCU are tied for the lead at this point. VCU owns the tiebreaker because of the one head-to-head win down in Richmond. I think Dayton is better than VCU. Not by a lot, but, you know, if they played best of 7 on a neutral court, I think Dayton would win because I think the Flyers have more ways to score in traditional kind of half-court ways, whereas VCU's got to, you know, kind of get you feeding them offense. And, you know, there's no great team in the league either. You know, last year there were 3 tournament teams in the league. St. Bonaventure should have been a 4th. I think all of those teams were better than any of the teams in the Atlantic 10 this year. And I would throw George Washington from last year in that category as well. I mean, they won 28 games in the NIT. But that doesn't make it bad basketball. It just means that we're going to have to wait a little bit longer before we start using words like lock.
Absolutely. And your latest bracketology report that came out, actually even after the blowout win that the Flyers had over the weekend over Duquesne, they dropped a spot. Not too big of a deal, but what went in that decision in terms of them dropping even after the blowout win?
Sometimes it's not dropping, it's getting passed by other teams. You know, let's say you're an 8, and all the other 8s, or the teams around you, all have bigger wins than you did. I mean, Duquesne doesn't move you up, it can only drop you back.
Absolutely, and I see him warming up out on the floor right now, Josh Cunningham. I know injuries always are considered whenever you are doing your bracketology reports, but how much of an impact can Josh Cunningham returning have on this roster moving forward, especially if they're able to, you know, get some of these big wins with VCU and Rhode Island coming up for Dayton?
Well, it feels like forever ago since he played, so it'll be interesting to see how they work him in, and, you know, over time, right, you know, he maybe goes from 10 minutes to 15 to 20, what have you. I mean, if they get hot and win the league outright with him back, that's probably going to be worth a seat or 2.
Absolutely. ESPN's Joe Lunardi with us here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Last thing, I'll send you out with this. Dayton's very fortunate to have 2 D1 programs here in the Gem City. The Wright State Raiders play in the Horizon League, which has pretty much been owned by Valpo the last couple of years, being led by Alec Peters. They're currently in first place. Oakland has shown that they can be an explosive team at times. Wright State's kind of been in the mix as well. How are you projecting the Horizon League? I believe Valpo might come in on top. I'm a Wright State guy, but that's going to be a tough league.
Well, it's going to be a one-bid league. Valpo got some consideration last year and then made it to the NIT Final Four. I think the NIT Final, right? They lost to GW. Yeah, I don't see it being a multi-bid league, and it's certainly Valpo's to lose.
Absolutely. Last thing, the first 4 here in Dayton. The Big Hoopla is actually a sponsor of my show on Sunday Morning Sports, and they joined me on the show last week. Said that there's 12 of the teams bidding for the first 4. How special is the city of Dayton? I mean, they kick everything off, and it's such a great feeling here in the Gem City to be the guys that kick off March Madness.
Well, I love coming here with St. Joe's. I love coming here for the tournament. It's one of the first big arenas I went to when I was in college. I saw my first NCAA tournament game here. So, I mean, the people here support college basketball remarkably well, but in a classy way. And I hope the First Four's here forever.
So do we. ESPN's Joe Lunardi. Joe, I really appreciate the time, my man. Thank you.
You got it.